Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the HeidelbergCement India Limited Q3 FY21 conference call hosted by PhillipCapital India Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal of PhillipCapital India Private Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Aman. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of PhillipCapital India Private Limited, we welcome you to the Q3 FY21 conference call for HeidelbergCement India Limited. On the call, we have with us Mr. Jamshed Naval Cooper, Managing Director, and Mr. Anil Sharma, Chief Financial Officer. I would like to mention on behalf of HeidelbergCement India Limited and its management that certain statements that may be made or discussed on the conference call may be forward-looking statements related to future developments and the current performance. These statements are subject to a number of risks, uncertainties, and other important factors which may cause the actual developments and results to differ materially from the statement. HeidelbergCement India Limited and the management of the company assumes no obligation to update or alter these forward-looking statements, whether as a result of new information or future events or otherwise. Also, HeidelbergCement India Limited has uploaded a copy of the presentation on the exchange and its website. Participants may download a copy of presentation from these websites. I will now hand over the floor to the management of HeidelbergCement India Limited for their opening remarks, which will be followed by a Q&A. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Good afternoon to everyone for making time available for this earnings call. So you would have gone through the presentation, what has been uploaded on our website. Nevertheless, I'll go through it once again before we open our session for question and answers. So the first slide was about page number 3, which was about the cement industry overview. You can see how the volume developments have taken place. These are figures which we have taken from the DIPP or from various government sources. So we go by these data. However, these data could vary on actual results, and that is what you will have to take note of this. But all said and done, there is a revival on cement demand gradually, although it is up and down. I would say at the moment, I would say the industry or the economy is on a camel's back ride. So it is up and down. So that will continue till the COVID issue gets settled down. And as I say always, the Indian industry or Indian environment works less on figures but works more on sentiments. So unless the sentiments get positive, we will continue with this up and down situation. Coming to the slide number 4 of the page, where we have talked about our operational results. So you have seen that we have grown by almost 3.7% on volumes and price by 4.5%. On the gross revenue basis, it is close to 8.5% growth, which we have delivered. Volumes are recovering, especially in most micro markets, and things seem to be a little better. And as the government has announced quite a lot of measures in terms of impetus in the economy, the recent budget looks very promising. However, it has to be seen on the ground what is at the implementation stage, how we fare on that. Your company, HeidelbergCement India, is 100% blended cement. So on the sustainability part, I think we continue our trajectory and our growth, which is continuing with 100% blended cement. Our dependence on grid power is about 66%, and in the future it is likely to further reduce as we put up the ongoing projects which come up on steam. We continue to operate on a negative working capital, which you may appreciate because there is a cost of capital for every operation we do. So this is a subtle earning what you get the benefit of an organization. That means the risk is zero. You are totally covered against risk, and you are working with a negative working capital. So your financial involvement is virtually negligible. So this is another, support which the organization gets by way of, de-risking itself from the market risks. You will be happy to note that as planned, 1,250 million INR of our non-convertible debentures is being paid up, and now the remaining is about 1,200, which will be paid in the December of next year. Net cash balance today is 216 crores. We continue in our attempt to improve our carbon footprint. We are right now investing into AFR and solar projects. Both these projects are underway and they should start yielding results sometimes in the second half of the next year. This will further reduce our carbon footprint. Of course, very I'm sorry to report that there was a small LTI, but for us it is just only an LTI. People may take it, but for us as an organization which has pledged and which has committed itself to go to a zero harm, this one LTI also, even if it is a scratch to the person, it means a lot to us. So it is a lost time injury for us, and we are reporting here as for the part of us, good corporate governance. Coming to our slide number 5. If you look at our interest and financial charges, which is the highlight of this whole page, is it has come down and it will come down further in the next year also. As I said, operating income net of taxes has already gone up by 8.5%. Despite a difficult market condition which it has gone through, it is not today's times, when we talk about working capital, when I just mentioned to you, in a crisis of liquidity crunch, okay, to achieve a negative working capital is I would say that kudos to the team, people at the ground level who are and the procurement team and everybody who has managed the cash flows wonderfully well. There has been a marginal increase on the logistics cost, which I should explain to you. This is you would have seen that over a quarter on a year-on-year basis, there has been a diesel price increase of almost close to 5%. So there is some reflection of this in this, and there has been some alignment what we are trying to do in terms of logistics. But considering today's logistics costs also of about 600 rupees a ton, Heidelberg Cement India is, I'm sure you will find it as one of the very promising on logistics account. If we take you to the waterfall on page number 6, you will observe that the price has been one of the major key functions which has helped us improve our EBITDA. But unfortunately, I would not say unfortunately, but there has been a power and fuel, there has been an upside. That is, it was expected internally by us for the simple reason that these are one-off costs which has come up. There is a fuel cost marginal. Then we had a major shutdown, okay, which normally that we have a long OLBC, which is about 21 kilometers. And that belt requires replacement once in 8 or 9 years, 7 or 8, 9 years. So that was to be put up. So we had to shut down our line 3, which is one of our major lines. And for that purpose, WHR does not work up, so my power cost goes up. But if I was to remove this on a on a basis, I feel that the organization has done well in terms of its EBITDA margins. So if right now the EBITDA margins you are seeing is about 20 to 20.2 or something, which is if I was to take it account for that, it will again bounce back to about 23% EBITDA margin. There are other costs, marginal freight costs, raw material costs has gone up because of when these shutdowns take place. These small things do happen, but I am not worried about it because these are one-off expenses which don't really bother us too much because it is a part of our business process which we have to keep rejuvenating our plant. We cannot keep our plant operating at risk, so we had to put some investments on that or repairs and maintenance. Coming to slide number 7, 45% of our volumes are rail. So you can see that there is a small change in this particular percentage because of rail freights. We adjust our movement very, very carefully depending on the freight available, and this time the railway peak season charge has not come, so we have moved little bit towards rail. So we keep blending our movements and evacuation on that basis. Now it is unfortunate that today petcoke is costlier than coal on gigajoule basis, and this prompts us to again redesign and change our recipe of our fuel mix. So we are planning now to go 50-50, future also maybe little here and there, because despite, let me put it for the benefit of all of you, that we use coal in order to consume low grade, this petcoke in order to consume low grade limestone also. If you want to consume low grade limestone, which is otherwise going to go waste and become a burden of disposal, and the mining department is not going to allow you at a one fine morning. They will say, okay, you have to use a certain amount of land. So we are not doing selective mining. We are ensuring that while we are reclaiming land, again with mines closure one after the other, so we have to use this low grade limestone also, and for that reason we have to use petcoke here. In my earlier slides, in my earlier sessions, I would have explained to you that by using a good mix, we have been able to extend the life of our Mindstone quarry by almost 7 years. So this is a one major chunk. So we spend a little more here, but the long-term benefits are far more. Coming to our products of which we call it as the premium products, we launched one product which is called the which you see in this beige color bag. This is a new product which we launched. And both the volumes of these combined is about 22%, which is a growth of almost 33% year on year. There is a marginal decline in the trade sales. Earlier, previous quarter, it was 85, which has come down to 80%. But I think this is a good enough at the moment when you are able to get a good price in non-trade. So we are picking up non-trade also. When we don't get a good price in non-trade, we switch to trade. So it is a blend of all the combinations which keep going on. Now coming to slide 8, I mentioned to you that now only about 1,200 million INR is left, which will be paid in the next year. After that, the company is not having any interest to be paid on any of the loans it has. The rest, it has got an interest-free loan on which it will keep earning a small interest. Weighted average of interest is decreased to almost 3.52. So you can see the total net balance is close to, we have got a good net balance in our account, but close to about 570 crores of cash is there in the banks. So to tell you further that we are also looking at some of the capexes, what we are going to do, the maintenance capexes and things like the sustainable capexes. So which will be in the coming year is going to be about 90 crores of capex which we will do for 2021. Let me again put one more point as a cautionary here that we have got this 21-kilometer belt. So this belt will undergo a further repair in the month of next June or second half of the second year. So we have got a time schedule to replace it. So you may see a small change. So don't get upset about it. This will come in just the similar lines. But I'm just cautioning that sometimes people think that the results are bad, but these happen once in 8, 9, 10 years, and these will. So I'm just upfront cautioning that some small amount will come here. About 3-4 crores rupees of things will come and impact this. And that time also when we have to shut down the line, it costs us about something like, because of this, about 8-9 crores. So if you have to add up, today also if you add up about 9 crores to our EBITDA, gross EBITDA, then you will see that we have performed very extreme to your expectations, I suppose so. Coming to our environment and social foot, ESG, we're talking about. you can see, where we are, where we compare ourselves, and our target is to reach below 500 much before 2030, and we are totally committed to get our carbon footprint well within, because we do not know when the government will bring a carbon cess tax, and then we will not know what to do. So we have been investing over a period of time. So you may not see those big capexes with us, but small capexes we have been doing to ensure that the sustainability of the business, basically from the business sustainability, environment sustainability, we are scoring high. As I said, we are a 100% blended cement company. 40% of our WHRS power is contributed by WHRS, and we are putting up a 5.5 megawatt solar power plant. Ammasandra unit is almost green power is 70% of the power comes from them. Water positive, we are 5.2 times water positive, and we said, as I said earlier also, that we are monitoring the temperatures of our plant vis-a-vis 1 kilometer outside, and I'm very happy to say that from 2014 to now, we have been able to take a reduction of 1.2. So this is by ensuring a good hygiene factor within the plants, good environment within the plants. We are preventing any fugitive emissions. We are ensuring that the green cover is increased, and this is being monitored on a weekly basis. So there is these temperatures, we are very concerned about it, and the target is to reach 2 degrees lower, which is as per the Paris Protocol, that you got to reduce the global climate temperature by about 2 degrees over 1990 levels. So our contribution, we can do it as best in our own area, in our mines, in anywhere, and with the society. So to support the society, we have started, this Friends of Earth, where we put up now trees. These trees are geotagged on the website, and about 1,500 trees have been planted. These are geotagged. There are far more. We have to yet to tag them because the details of those geotags are not available. So those are awaiting to be uploaded. So you will be happy to know that we have this Quarry Life program, in which we monitor regularly the bird life. Okay, and the bird life is being monitored by Bombay History Society also, and which is an independent agency, and the group auditors have audited it, and they found that there are about 117 bird species which are there, out of which there are about 5 or 7 of them are under the endangered species. So we are getting these birds also in our quarry life. So we are rehabilitating the quarries, whatever we are quarrying, and we are putting it back and giving it back to the nature. At our Narsingar plant, we are putting up a AFR project, and that should be commissioned somewhere in the second half of the year. Coming to corporate social responsibility, you can see that our spends on social responsibility CSR budget has increased. We did this Annam scheme during the COVID times, giving food to the underprivileged. A National Award of Excellence we got by under CSR for education, both in for rural education too. And these are some of the pictures you see that of all the CSR activities we do. Right now we are doing a skill development program in both the places in Damoh and Jhansi, and it is drawing a lot of crowds from the villages, especially for computer classes. The girls, the women empowering, they are coming to learn many things, and we are very happy that our people are volunteering for that, and we are also investing to see to it that the rural folk quality of life is uplifted in the periods to go forward. The outlook mentioned to you that COVID has been a very big teacher to us also. It gave us, it challenged us. It brought the best out of us. So I would say COVID has been a big teacher also to us. So despite all the turbulent weathers, we have learned many things, and we have matured far more to take on. If we can take on this pandemic, rest of the things we seem to be much more smaller. So we are much better prepared, much more versatile, much more, I would say, stable now. demand recovery in the infrastructure we will see after this new capex starts flowing in, the government outlays. We just waiting for some a trigger for these mobilization of resources to take place. Nevertheless, we have seen a strong demand all this time in the rural housing, and this rural housing has kept us up because Heidelberg Cement India is more of a or the cement seller into rural markets. So we are focused most on the below class B tier and tier 1 to below tier 3, 4, 5. So that is where the strength is, where the retail is, and where the people respect quality also, and people pay the price also for the quality. The risk here is only of the hardening domestic fuel and the petcoke. As we speak today also, the petcoke prices are hovering around $115, and we may see further push up on that. But I said that we have to find out ways and means to how to conserve energy and how to reduce our fuel. So we are working on that. We have taken up major measures to even now we will be studying our kilns and seeing that which are the places where we can improve our things. So this exercise will start now. Improvement in liquidity conditions is going to happen as the government starts easing its pocket and starts putting the money. But the last quarter and the quarter after the COVID period, we have seen the tightening of the fist at every level, and there was no money in the market. Despite that, we have been able to carry out our business with all the respect and giving due respect to our channel partners and our business associates. So combined, we have as an entity taken the organization and the society together to fight this COVID period and still to keep our business going on and keep our heads above the water. Implementation of labor codes are concerned, we are implementing them, and it is in a steady phase. We want to remain compliant. And last but not the least, sustainability, we have been there, sustainability will continue, and sustainability, in my view, has never been an option. It is a compulsion. If we do not follow sustainability issues, measures, ESGs and SGDs, if we do not comply with it, I am sure we will not be into business in the long run. So with this, I end my brief to you, and would be very happy, Anil and I will be very happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and 1 at this time. The first question is from the line of Chintan Sheth from Samiksha Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir, and congrats for the decent set of numbers despite the circumstances. So two set of questions. One is on the recent MMRDA, that is mining bill, which now has allowed the mining lease transfer between the parties. Any thought process of the management, for the taking in sister concerns, Zuari Cement in our fold? That is one. And second is on the volume front. We are already at around 80% of the utilization this quarter. How do we see medium-term growth looks a bit challenging given the capacity constraints. So any plans and thoughts? Where are we in terms of greenfield plan we were discussing a couple of quarters back?
Okay, so Chintan asked that, going with your first question, yes, there is some changes in the mining laws. This sets the base for future thinking on, combining the companies. But still, let the document come out properly. Let the the details be available in full clear form, and then we will definitely in the years to come, in the coming short term near future, we will try to see how we do it, because there is within Zuari also there is another company which is nested. So there are three entities as of now, but we will try to see that how do we optimize and get the best value for the shareholders. So that we are waiting for it. So once we get through it, and once we know in our heart that we are not going to erode any or we are not putting the company to risk, then only we will take this forward and take any steps on that. That is one. Number two, you said was
near-term growth.
Near-term growth. Okay, so on the near-term growth, we are running at 80% capacity utilization. I agree. Today also, if I am saying that if I was to do any major change in the plant, last year we did a major change. We added 1 million ton capacity. Okay, in the month of March. Okay, now we are at 80%, and about 81% is my clinker capacity utilization. Now, if I am looking at 80% capacity utilization, I have still much more headroom to go, even if the market grows by about 9% on a yearly basis, or 7% or 9% on a yearly basis. I still have 2 years to go. Not brought down by this particular feature that that what will we do. We are already in the process of, that we have got a mining lease in Gujarat, which we are working on. Now we have started working on, we will go for MOEF clearances, and then we will look at this. In the meantime, if there are any opportunities which come our way of any acquisition or any mines which come up our way, which are conveniently located to us or near to our mines, we will definitely go for it. We are already doing the prospecting of the places which are adjoining to our mines. We are going to the government, seeking their permission, and if we can get some limestone around our plant, definitely we will look at putting up a brownfield project. Since we have the cash, the necessary cash for that, so we are working on it. So this is what I can answer to you. So there is no urgency, I would say, in the medium term. Yes, right. After 3 years, yes, I will have a issue 3 years later after that, but we are working on it.
Sure. And on the trade side, you did mention that you took a call on the non-trade side that rates are better, and that's the reason why our trade sales mix are lower. How are we seeing in terms of trade, non-trade demand in terms of both? Obviously, we are looking focus more on pricing part to choose between these two markets. So if you can provide the outlook on both trade and non-trade side, would be helpful.
So Chintan, it is like this. Normally in central India, on the NSR front, if I say NSR front, usually on an average, if I look at the industry caliber status, it is about 800 to 900 rupees difference between, you will get lower realization by 800 to 900 rupees in non-trade. Okay. Now, if we are getting a better deal, say suppose in some places we do get a deal which is about 200, 300, 400 rupees differences. Okay, we capture that. Okay, we are not running for them, but if there are some good ones which come to us at a good price and a good terms, because we do not sell anything on credit. Okay, so every payment with us in Heidelberg is 100% advance. So any non-trade business happens in our company, first is the payment in the Bank of Heidelberg, and then only the material moves. So we are very choosy about our business, what we do. But still we manage to see to it that, if we get some, just only to, and these orders also we took just only to improve our capacity utilization. Okay. Yes, you will say that, even if I am running at 80% capacity utilization, why don't I take the 900 even low orders also to improve the capacity utilization and improve the margin? Yes, I can do that, but I am doing it at the cost of putting to jeopardy the brand image of the company, and also erosion of the limestone scarce resources, which we will use it when the time comes. So if there is a peak period, I would like to run my plant at 100% utilization. If there is not a peak period, then I would say, okay, let us wait for 3 more months and then let the run the kiln for that.
Thank you, Chintan. Request to join the question queue for any follow-up. Also, participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Manish Saxena from Pine Ridge Investments. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hi. Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Cooper.
Good afternoon.
Okay. See, I have a three set of questions. The first one is you have put up a slide, very nice slide on that ESG footprint. I just wanted to know from you, you're thinking of putting a 5.5 megawatt solar plant and an AFR project which is upcoming. Could you tell us that how much do you think this will reduce the CO2 emission, which is currently at about 511, Do you have a target in mind, or
yes,
this is just...
No, it is a target. We have a target of coming down below 500 by 2030. This is our carbon footprint roadmap.
Okay.
So this is a 2030 target, which it will move very slowly because we are already at a very low level than the standards which are there at the moment. Okay. So if you look at the Indian cement industry, it is cruising around 580. From there we are at 511. So it is a big jump. After this particular point, it becomes the progress becomes much and much difficult unless we go for some more carbon capture technologies or things like that. So this will come down, but the target is that we have promised to the group, and our commitment is there on our roadmap that every year we will reduce some CO2 emissions. And this will come down significantly if there is a change in the law which allows us to add more fly ash into PPC, making of PPC. So we are very hopeful if that comes in, then we would be touching it immediately. So this 11 kg is also I will be able to touch if I am allowed to add another 5 to 7% more of fly ash. And little bit of things which we do will come down to close to about 500 on.
Okay. And you were talking about a carbon tax. Is that a thing that has already started in some European countries or some other parts of the world?
Absolutely right.
And what would be that quantum?
There it is about 30 euros. This 30 euros was the cost which they had put as on September announcement in Europe. Okay. And it is subject to revision. I think they will revise it in 21, and this 30 euros may go to 35 euros now.
Okay.
We are talking about it from the Europe point of view.
Okay. Understood. My second question is on this repairs that you had to do on this conveyor belt that you mentioned about. So if I were to understand you right from your presentation, this was about 9 to 10 crores of capital expenditure which was expensed in the quarter. Is that the way we should think about it?
No, it is not 9 to 10 crores. This is the capex for this particular thing is the total impact of this. Like my plant was shut down for almost 25 years.
Yes.
I am taking out a cost on the cost base. The cost is the investment on that was a part of our plan. Okay, so that is not bothering me too much. Okay, it is a 3 crore. Okay, investment on the bench part.
Okay.
But if I put, my WHR did not turn out almost 3 megawatts, almost 3 million units of power. My plant was shut down. Okay, my fuel consumption went up during that period because I was running line 1 and 2. My line 1 is a very costly line in terms of fuel. It's a fuel guzzler. So, but that we do not operate it. We only operate it now maximum about 100 days in a year. This is our target, to keep it only lying low. Only when there is a certain spurt in demand, we run that and make extra cement and use it. So if I add up to all these costs, it adds up to close to about 80 rupees to 100 rupees, between 80 to 90 rupees a ton was my impact because of this shutdown.
Okay. Understood. And my final question is, your tax rate was low, slightly lower compared to the previous quarters. How much of the MAT credits is still lying with you for you to take it in the future quarters,
Anil, it's like 75 crores.
Manish, at this moment, we still continue the old income tax rate of 35%. And as on 31st December, we have around 75 crore rupees unutilized net. And going forward, we will continue using the old tax regime of 35% until we utilize this net amount. So we are expecting that maybe next 1 or 2 years, depending upon the profitability, this will be utilized. Till that time, in the tax expenditure, you will see the tax rate in the range of this 33 to 35%, and thereafter it will significantly reduce to 25%.
Okay. But right now, it is 75 crores is the unutilized amount.
As on 31st December 2020.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. That's all.
Thank you. To ask a question, please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Simran Bhatia from SMC Global Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I want to ask that you have stated means you have just stated that your EBITDA margin will be bounce back to 23%. Can you state us means in how much time it will be bounced back, whether it's in the short term or in the long term, means in the next 1 year? And yes,
Simran, the thing is what I was telling you, that even today, if I was to take off this one-off expenses and add up to this, then also I am at 23 only today.
Okay.
So, it is not that I am going to bounce back. I am already there had this one-off expenses not coming.
Great. Sir, second question is, for the first 9 months, your interest costs have, bring down to 41 crores from, 57 crore, which is a almost decline of 28% in the first 9 months when we are comparing with the YOY. I just want to ask that, means in the upcoming years, can we see this run rate? Means your interest cost will going to, come down very, very sharply going forward?
Yes, it should, because as I said, the now only interest-bearing loan which is a non-convertible NC is only 1,200 million INR. So that is the only one on which it will be interested. Rest is all there is no interest bearing any amount with us.
Okay, great, sir. And sir, my last question is, what is the percentage from your your premium segment contribution in the revenues? Because last time you have stated that you are targeting for 25% in the premium segment. So are you means in that target you are going to have, means if you can.
So Simran, you have seen in our slide 7, we are close to 22% of our trade volume.
Okay, that's great.
So our trajectory is okay, I would say.
Great, sir. And sir, any expansion plan further, means in the new geographies or means existing will go on?
As I said in the beginning, that we are looking at our now Gujarat project. Going forward, we will look at possibility of if there is some limestone additional available in a year or so after the this whole prospecting of this place takes place, and if we can acquire that mine, then we will put up something here only and either try to improve these skills or something like that, and try to add about 1 million ton more around this place. And if it is to be going, then it will go in a multiple of 3 million only.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering the questions, and all the best. All the best to you.
Thank you, Simran.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Raghav Maheshwari from Asian Market. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is, our number for the 9 months EBITDA per ton and the EBITDA in millions absolute number is very much lower as compared to our peer, even compared to 9 months on FY20 basis. What is the reason behind it? This is any geographical barrier to us, or otherwise the realization is our less shifted the volume into the non-trade?
No, this is you have to. We are operating predominantly a Central India player. So if you are comparing our EBITDA with all India players, then it is not a fair comparison.
But sir, companies like Prisma and which are operating in that area, their per ton is better from us, so that's why.
So you take the last 5 years average and then you compare and then you see that you tell me that if we are lower than my total EBITDA earnings during the last 5 years, my revenue compared to any other company in this region, you will find the difference straight away.
And so my question is, because the central and eastern UP is basically the market where your company is generating good realization as compared to other like North India. So that's why my question: why our realization year-on-year basis drop, because of the volume or something we are shifted to non-trade much from trade?
No, we are not shifted at all from trade to non-trade. It is just only this month. Otherwise, we have been, if you look at my gross realization, it has grown by 2.5% over previous on a 9 months basis.
Sagar, you will appreciate that there is increase in the realization during the quarter by 5%, and even if you compare the full 9 months, then also you will see the increase in the realization by 2.5%.
Yes, sir. There's definitely increase in the realization, but for EBITDA is like not increase year-on-year on quarter both basis.
So we exactly, when you are operating at a very high level, we have been at 1100 for last so many quarters, okay? Whereas our peers were operating at somewhere around 800. So that is also to be seen.
Raghav, in our presentation, in slide number 6, we have shown this waterfall. And this waterfall, you will see that there is two areas where the negative variance is there. One is the power and fuel, and another is the others. And what Mr. Cooker also explained in his opening remarks, that there is one-off item which happens only 8 to 10 years in the life of the company, where we replace this overland belt conveyor. It is the overland belt conveyor is the longest one, 21 kilometer, and both the sides put together, total size of the belt is 42. Out of 42, we have replaced 20 kilometers this year in this quarter, and the remaining 22 kilometers will be replaced in the second or third quarter of the calendar year 2021. And during this 8 to 10 years time when the replacement happens, we have to take the longer shutdown of our largest kiln, which is from the fuel and the power point of view, the efficient kiln. And that impact put together of the power and fuel and the repairs maintenance is coming 80 to 100 basis points basically on the 80 to 100 rupees per ton on the total operation of the company this quarter. If I eliminate this one-off item, then our EBITDA per ton, which is at this moment in the waterfall, shows around 950 rupees. That will be 1050. It then is very comparable from the after eliminating the one-off item. And that we actually try to explain that this is the things which happen this quarter, and after 10 years and again it will come, and the remaining part of the belt will be replaced. That time also little bit jerk will come with respect to EBITDA per ton. Overall, if you see, volume growth is there, price growth is there, and we try to optimize the cost wherever possible.
Okay, thank you. Understood, sir. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who has a question may press star and 1. Please note this is a final reminder for questions, and no further reminder would be placed after this. The next question is from the line of Sumedha Srinivasan from ICICI Prudential AMC. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my question. So my question was, right now I understand that the debt is roughly around 3,550 million as of December end. Can you help us with what the similar number was as of September end?
September end. September was at...
Just to see the quarterly movement.
So just you had 1.25.
1.25.
We have paid this 1.25 on 16 December 2020. That amount we have paid. So our debt, gross debt reduced by 1.25 as on 31st December. 4.8 billion.
4.8, correct.
Okay. And my second question, so I think in the media release, in the result, it mentioned around 5,700 million of cash as of December end. As of September end, it was around, it was a little higher, is it? Because I think the media release mentions cash balance increased to 5,700 million. So I just wanted to check what is the cash balance in the previous quarter to see the movement.
You want to know the as on 30th September, what was our case balance?
Yeah. If I'm not wrong, I think it was around 5,720.
So 5,720.
So it was on the similar line of the 30th September, and during the quarter, whatever we have optimized on account of profitability, that amount has been used for the repayment of the loan. So,
right. Okay. Just one last question from my end. The AFR as well as solar projects that are coming up, what is the capital outlay plan for these two?
This is on purchase power is on capex. There is no capex on this one, but there is a capex of about something like 20 crores on our AFR. On the solar power, it is on a BOT basis.
On a group captive kind of basis, right?
No capex.
Okay. And this 20 crores in AFR, has some already been spent in this year, or will most of it come up only in FY22?
Most of it is, it is gradually underspending, which somewhat will be spent over a period of another coming 6 months. So about 7-8 crores has been spent. Already 7-8 crores has been done, and about another 12-13 crores will go out in the coming 7-8 months.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Amit Srivastava from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, just wanted to understand about the line 1 which you discussed. So what is the capacity of that line 1? Second thing is that how inefficient versus line 3 cost difference, if you can give us an idea.
Line 1 is just only 1600 to 1700 TPD. It's a very old plant. It is the first line of the company, so it is there. Inefficiency wise, if you look at in terms of heat consumption, it will absorb about 3.4 gigajoule, whereas this will be 3.1 gigajoule on a line 3 basis. So this is the inefficiency on the thermal power plant, thermal also.
And power wise
also, it will consume far more energy than line 3. So if line 3, if I can make clinker at something like around 65 units, this will take you around something like 80 units.
Okay. So whenever we'll run at a peak level, like on a peak quarters, then we'll have to operate the third line also.
Sometimes we have to operate it, because if you keep it line also, sometimes we have to use it because otherwise it will get rusted.
Okay.
So it will be a major write-off then. So we have to keep it in good position also to keep it oiled and working at any point of time. But it is a very big savior for the company. Whenever it is required or something line 3 goes down or something major maintenance comes up, line 1 is the supportive line.
Okay. Second thing, sir, on a premium cement, which we are now keep on increasing on overall context. So just wanted to understand versus our product was already premium. So this premium product is how much difference we are realizing in terms of the net?
So in terms of net, you get about something like 15 rupees a bag more. 10
50
rupees a bag
more. Sorry, Mr. Hello?
Yeah?
No, I just missed it. How much you said?
About 10 to 15 rupees, 15 rupees on a power and about 10 rupees on the other bag.
Okay, fine. Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from me.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Manoj Shah from Laxco Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the energy mix. As you said that the target would be to use the pet coke and the coal in the ratio of 50%. Any other alternative fuel are you looking at so that your dependency on this price fluctuation is minimized, kind of it? Maybe like the municipal waste or RDF and so on, kind of thing.
So, Manoj, on this AFR, as I said, that we are going to look at right now in the initial stages. We are looking at biomasses. We are talking to the municipal corporations around us. So there is one place where they have said that they can provide us municipal waste, and we are looking at it. The thermal substitution which will happen is beginning with about 3% and it will go to about 8 to 9%, of 7 to 8%. It will go to on the thermal substitution part. This is phase 1. Once we are clear that so much of X amount of AFR is available, that will consume about close to about 44 to 45,000 tons of alternate fuels in this material. And once we are clear that we are able to get these type of fuels available as AFR, then we will put up the second line, which will take us to add up to another 4 to 5 another TSR substitution can happen, about 5%. So we are targeting about 12% to 13% of AFR in the medium term.
Okay. Because the price petcoke prices keep on fluctuating, and this will provide you a stable source of energy with not much of a price variation, as well as it will be more of an environmental friendly kind of it. And I have seen that some of the cement companies, like visited one company in Egypt, they were using this RDF and this municipal waste because they were having a plant of around 5 million tons. So it has been like companies are already using it across the globe.
Yeah. So Manoj, this AFR is not sometimes it becomes a costly affair also, but the advantage only of this is that on the sustainability side, it gives you a better footprint.
Yeah, you can change the mix depending on which one is cheaper kind of it, and accordingly you can switch between the two.
It's not easy. AFR business is not easy. It comes with a lot of pain. There is a lot of handling required. It is a very smelly waste. So you have to maintain a lot of hygiene factors while using AFRs. So it looks like it is very easy to say that you put in AFR, but then AFR has to be having a certain calorific value also. You just cannot put up into the into a preheater area, into calciner, something which you will diffuse the fire. It has to add up to the fire.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, please limit a question to one per participant. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Murarka from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Good afternoon. So I just had two questions from a competitive landscape point of view, one near term and one longer term. So near term, like what we have been hearing is that because of the mini rake scheme, some volumes are coming in from south and longer distances. So I just want to understand like what kind of an impact is it having on the regional demand supply pricing dynamics?
So Amit, we are facing consistently the influx of materials coming from neighboring states. Earlier it used to be about 100,000 tons. Now it has reached to about something like 10 lakh tons of material is coming in. So from different states. But the demand of the state has continuously grown. So to that extent, we have been able to, the domestic players of this market have been able to balance their portfolio and continue their shares in the market. So it is a pressure there, but we can't help it. These pressures will continue. We have to continue to stay with our team of dealers, our channel partners, and keep our business going on.
Okay, sure. Understood. Also, like in the medium to longer term, there seems to be quite a few new clinkers coming up in the region. So ACC, Ameta, and Ultratech is coming up. Plus, now even JK Cement has announced a Panna capacity. So, what do you think the competitive landscape will be, or will the region be able to absorb all these new capacities in a 2-3 year time frame?
As I see, this market will continue to grow about, if I am not mistaken, to be very safe also, it will 7 to 8%, 6 to 7, 8%, it will keep growing. This market should not have a problem, the central India. But most of the capacities which are coming out in the eastern part of this region, that flows into eastern side. Okay, that goes to find its way into Bihar. So you will find that most of these capacities, if they come also in the eastern side, they will flow into Bihar and go towards the east, which is a deficit market.
Okay. Okay, sure. Got it. And on your Gujarat capacity, like any time frame which you are looking at to start work on it?
So, Amit, we have started work on it. We are now in the process of filing our TOR, getting our TOR, environmental studies and things like that. That is, work has commenced.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ritesh Shah from Investec. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity. So just continuing to the prior question on Gujarat, sir, what are the timelines that we should look at over here? And are there any particular variables which will decide whether we are going ahead with the project or not?
There is no question of we are not. There is no question on that we are not going ahead with the project. We are going ahead with the project. We are on the process of getting our clearances. Environmental clearances take their own time.
Okay. Sir, would it be possible to highlight the scope of the project, probable capital outlay and the capacity over here?
You can say it will be about a 3 million ton plant to begin with.
Okay. Okay. That helps. Sir, my second question is, how different is our distribution channel as compared to the peer set? Like, is it like it goes to distributors and dealers? The reason I'm asking this is one of our peer companies, they have started to sell material directly from the plant or from the depots. Now, is it something which is a common practice? How should one understand this, sir?
There are two things in this, One is directly. The process follows like this, In cement industry, you have a warehouse, you have a dealer, and you have a retailer. Okay, I think Heidelberg was one of the early companies which has been into going directly to the retail also. So, virtually like Heidelberg, where the material is sold, okay, every salesperson knows about it. So we keep a record of each and every outlet, although we do not enjoy a direct relationship with them, but we know where the material is sold and we have got a relationship at that level. It goes to the dealer, but most of the orders, I would say 80% of the orders, or rather 90% of the orders are directly supplied to the retailer or to the place of consumption. Very few orders which go through a routed, that means a truck, the driver or the dealer wants the material, please send the material to my place and I will distribute it in small lots. That is the only time the material goes, but if there is a truckload order or at least a half a truckload order, it directly goes and lands into the consuming center. In terms of our, you say that amount of our warehouse movement, we have certain places where we move only by rail. This is the only place where our cement passes through the warehouse. Otherwise, it is directly from the plant directly to the place of use.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Arijit Datta from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. One question. Sorry for my ignorance here. You just mentioned that the conveyor belt of 21 kilometers is only half of the total 42 kilometers belt, where you are taking a shutdown once in an 8-year kind of thing. But curious to know that why we are taking it in 2 phases, because again a 20-day shutdown will happen in May, June. Why can't we do it together? Because opportunity cost is higher than the CapEx cost here.
It is not. It is the way of the construct of the belt is such. You cannot do everything in one shot. The shutdown would have been doubled. There is a method of pulling a belt and laying it. So there is a technical issue in this. So we have to do it, and the belt is into 3 stages. Okay. So we have 2 transfer points. Okay, so we have to manage this part. It is if you come to the site, then you will come to know that to put up that belt of that magnitude, the time which we have taken. In fact, when the project started, to put up this same belt has taken almost 3 months. because that was the time we were not experienced. But now with experience, we have been able to reduce the time slab.
Perfect, sir. Got the answer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Amish Kanani from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Sir, given our spare capacity and capacity utilization at the current point, is it possible to give us directional view about the growth next year? Maybe not in the quantum terms, but directionally, will we be, and given our mix of trade and non-trade and the kind of demand that is emerging post-budget, is it possible to give us some sense of directionally whether we grow better than the market, or we may not be able to participate at the market rate growth till say
definitely. So Ramesh, I can only say that we have grown a little better than the market trend, and we will continue to grow that way only. In terms of trade and non-trade bifurcation, it will fluctuate between. We have gone as high as 95% in trade also. And we have gone as low as 75 also. But now we have fixed up a certain that we will try to remain above 80%. We will not go below unless the government demand is so good and you start getting orders at a very good price under non-trade. Then we can increase our non-trade and improve our capacity utilization. So this will be our way forward. But definitely the positive trajectory will only remain.
Yeah, because last quarter we got a sense that we want to participate in profitable trade segment, and hence we may not want to chase the growth. So are we looking at, say, a volume versus EBITDA per ton kind of a mix? How is the, so you're saying you will not shy away from taking growth from non-trade if it is reasonably profitable? And
reasonably profitable, and comes to on our terms. Basically, there are in non-trade, you have to sometimes have to give also credit of 60, 80 days. Okay, we do not want to put our money into those baskets. Okay. I am clear about it that the cost of recovery is far more than the cost of sales. The salesman, person who's for each call costs the company almost 600 rupees a call. If he is going to sit for half a day in the shop to recover money, when is he going to sell? So this is the biggest problem of the cement industry. So we prefer that the money is with us. If we get a good price, if the money is with us, then we should go for it. Otherwise, we will, in the long run, we will lose whatever we have in trade also.
Sure. And sir, just as a related question, is the EBITDA per ton there is say between 800 and 1000 or maybe below 800, and hence we don't want to participate?
No. There is never an issue of participation of 800. When the markets are bad, we even participated at 800. See, it depends on the overall scenario of your basket. If your basket is loaded more on the 1000 side plus or 1100 side plus, then you don't mind taking a little bit on the lower side. But if your entire basket is coming to 700-900, then you start pushing yourself on the upper side.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Gaurav Rateria from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for giving me a chance. Two questions. Firstly, just to get a better understanding of the total market size which we cater to would be around 45-50 million tons annually, and roughly 25% of that is being catered by influx of material from other states. Is that a correct understanding? And secondly, you were mentioning last time about expectations of prices moving up post the festive season. Somehow it looks like it has not happened. Any particular view on that? Is the price hike getting delayed despite demand being pretty okay? Thank you.
So Gaurav, to answer this, movement about which is influx of material, which is now become we cannot say even influx because these people have become now gradually common players in the market. So it is about 15% of the material comes from outside now, which were non-traditional players earlier. About 15% is from their side. 15, I would say maximum 20%. With respect to the other point you mentioned was what was the other point, Gaurav? Sorry, I missed it.
Sir, I said that you were indicating last time price hikes to happen.
Okay, price hikes. Okay, so the price hike has unfortunately been little delayed. for the simple reason that the winters were severe, or there was a little bit of disturbance in the market on cash flow also. There has been a little depression also had come in the month of November. Okay, but December again saw up. January was a little softer. February is again looking up. Okay, so things like this, if we are going through, then I am saying that prices. Anyway, for your information, we are already taken a small price increase in day before, which is gradual, and in the next weeks to come also we will start taking some small increases. Depending on, it will not be across the state, it will be on pocket to pocket, deciding on the availability of material, how the pull is coming. So if there is a market, there is a drag, then we will go slow, but if there is a pull in the market, then we will go little positive.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, we'll be able to take the last two questions. The next question is from the line of Kamlesh Bagmar from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, just one question on the part of our limestone reserves which we have. So as we have now better visibility on the mine side, so current reserves can suffice for how long, sir, given the current capacity which we have?
About 27 to 28 years.
Okay. And like say the grade of reserves which we have, so would we be required to source some sweeteners from the outside, or it would be entirely met through the internal mine reserves?
About 3.5 to 4% of sweetener we source from outside.
Okay. And lastly, sir, I know that this question has been repeated many times now. Like, so on the Gujarat side, what can be the timeline from now? Like, say, is it 3 years, 4 years? How long can we? Like, say, what could be the timeline for commissioning of that project?
See, everything depends upon, there are two things in a project which matter. One is the environmental clearance. Okay. That takes the maximum amount of time. Okay. Once that is through, then you have to go for land purchase, and then you have to start building the plant. So even if you acquire 20% of the land, once you get the MOEF clearance, then you start building up the plant. So, yes, it can take about 3 years. The 2 years to only, I don't think before 2 years we will get even the MOEF clearance.
Thank you. We'll take the last question from the line of Milind Raginwar from Centrum. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Just one thing is on the current clinker capacity would be around 3.75. Is that the right understanding? Including Ammasandra?
3.5.
3.5. At Damoh, or it is including Ammasandra?
Only Damoh now.
Okay. So
only Damoh.
Okay, sir. So I just wanted to understand, in case of whether when we were speaking of some buoyancy coming back in demand, we will be free to get clinker purchases in case we want to get higher cement to be produced? Or
I'm not very sure whether you will get clinker. Clinker is not a tradable commodity these days. People don't want to sell clinker.
But Milind, you will appreciate that this 3.5 million ton capacity is sufficient at this moment, and at the same time, last time we explained that we are working for some debottlenecking on the clinker side, some small debottlenecking. That also will support a little bit on our clinker availability. So we don't foresee that, okay, for the purpose of 5.75 million ton our grinding capacity, we need to have clinker purchased from the outside.
Okay. And sir, just sorry for my ignorance, I wanted to understand, is the convertible expenses are, how much of that would be there in the other expenses? You said that we had only 3 crore of being spent for that purpose. Is that what I heard correctly?
Yes.
That's right.
So the other expense increase that we see in the quarter, whether sequentially or on a year-on-year basis, is attributable to any specific thing, sir? Apart
Power
from
and fuel and other maintenances which has gone up during that period, because when the line was taken for shutdown, we did a lot of some maintenances also.
And Milind, this 10 crore rupees, you are referring to this 10 crore rupees increase in the other expenditure as compared to corresponding quarter of last year. Is that question?
No, I'm looking at it from an from a percentage perspective, probably yes, it's about this. But then, in terms of the volume, we are more or less there only. So just wanted to understand, 3 crore is knocked off there. So yes, maybe that.
You're right that there is the increase of the 10 crore rupees in other expenditure. But this other expenditure includes all the kind of repairs, maintenance, stores consumption, administrative costs, as well as the handling cost for the cement and clinker. So volume increase during the quarter of around 4%. So that also we need to factor to arrive the real increase of the other expenditure. And on top of that, this 3 crore rupees of the repairs maintenance in addition to that. That also part of this 10 crore rupees hike.
Okay. Right, sir. Right. Understood. Yeah. Thanks for this.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that would be our last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal for closing comments. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Aman. On behalf of PhillipCapital India Private Limited, I would like to thank them and HeidelbergCement India Limited for the call, and many thanks for participants joining the call. Thank you very much, sir. Aman, you may now conclude the call.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of PhillipCapital India Private Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.